welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by SBK, of course, with myself in the hosting seat and usual GG Weekend Watch pundits Daryl Carter and Andrew Mount to guide you through this weekend's racing. And we've got a more of a mellow weekend this weekend, I think it's fair to say, in comparison to last week. Thank you so much for sticking with us through that marathon that we went through last weekend. But understandably, it was one of the greatest weekends that we have throughout the flat racing calendar. So we had to go in depth and cover every race, understandably. And if you did stick with us, then you were rewarded with some winners. The lads were in very good form. 4 winners then on our show last week. We had Saffron Beach and Ventura Diamond. Saffron Beach at 5-1 for Andrew, as well as Ventura Diamond placing at 50-1. And I have to say, I was punditing with Andrew yesterday, and he had a 50-1 winner as well. So no pressure, Andrew, but 50-1 seems to be about your ballpark at the minute.
Oh, so bless you for bringing that up. So
you're welcome. I know. Did I act it out well? But Daryl, not to be dismissed at all or discounted here, also had a couple of winners himself. He had Vadream at 6-1, lovely price there, and Boundless Power at 7-2 as well. So very well done from the pair of you. We'll be sending good report cards home to your parents, and I need to improve, basically. But if you're wondering why I have a full face of makeup, I'm going to the Makawee Awards later on tonight, and I could only get everything done beforehand. So unfortunately, this isn't my usual attire. The lads are worth making an effort for, but not quite this much of an effort, I'm afraid to say. But nonetheless, we're here and we have a full face on. But we're going to get kick-starting with the racing. We only have scheduled Newmarket and York this week. The forecast is set fair for both of these venues. No rain in the forecast at either track. So hopefully we will get some decent racing ground for this time of year, which will be refreshing to see. And it's the turn of the 2-year-olds for these end of season targets. So hugely exciting. And we're going to kickstart our day at Newmarket in the 145 with the Group 3 Zetland Stakes for 2-year-olds over a mile 2. At the head of the market, we have Haffit, Goldspur, who was so impressive on his debut, second in the market. Of course, we don't have much to go on throughout this race, but Andrew, what form lines do you point to here to try and find the winner?
Yeah, this is a tricky one, and obviously it's a contest that's thrown up some good winners in recent years, Lone Eagle and Kew Gardens in the last sort of 4 or 5 years. And I was looking at Berkshire Rebel here for Andrew Balding. I was really taken with this one's debut win at Goodwood. I know he only won narrowly, but he clocked a good time for that. That was on good to firm ground. He's then gone to Epsom, a bit of a muddling race, 4 runners. It paid to be on the front end. They basically never changed places. The winner and second sat 1-2 throughout, dominated, as often happens in small fields at Epsom. And I just thought that bigger field, stronger pace, and he's probably a little bit underrated because of that last time out defeat. He's round about 12-1, looking at the prices I've seen. I just thought he could give us a run for our money here, but it was a very tricky race and wasn't one that I was particularly confident in having a bet in.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a race where it is very tricky to have any strong opinion as such in. But as you say, Berkshire Rebel, how Andrew Balding's juveniles have been running this year is certainly not a horse to dismiss on the back of that latest effort. Daryl, do you have any stronger opinion on this race?
No, not really. It's very, very difficult to get involved in terms of a punting perspective. I think Haffit at the top of the market is very interesting. It was a good run at Haydock. It wouldn't go over the top of it. It was nothing to shout about, but in comparison to the race won by Artistic Rifles, who Andrew actually put up on that card, it married up okay. Would have been beaten about 8 lengths, probably a bit further given the weight conversion, but I thought he was short enough at 15-8 with any of these open to improvement. I think 6 or 8 of the last 10 winners have come in here off the back of a victory, so that does narrow the field down to just 2, Goldspur and Bluegrass. Bluegrass was okay over at the Curragh. Again, nothing to get overly excited about. And Goldspur did nothing really on his debut, did he? He didn't clock a good time. He didn't win a strong novice event there, but he was visually very impressive. And the fact that William Buick chooses the favourite Haffit, I wouldn't get too concerned about that. James Doyle rode Goldspur on his debut, so William Buick actually hasn't rode him in a race. So he may well have made the wrong decision here. I think I would give a tentative selection to Goldspur just on the visual basis of his Sandown performance. I thought he stretched out really nicely at the finish. You couldn't help but be impressed with him. But until that form starts to work out, it's very, very tricky to be really confident on any of these 2-year-olds.
Yeah, totally agree. Goldspur was the one visually I thought was so impressive. And as you say, when you saw the time then afterwards, considering it was a soft ground and the subsequent form hasn't worked out, few place efforts, but that's about it really. It does start to make you question if it was as visually impressive as first looked. But I'm with you where I thought that Goldspur was worth taking on the favourite with. So that's a couple of votes then for Goldspur to take on Haffett, but only tentatively really. And also an each way play there for Andrew on Berkshire Rebel, horse number 1 in this contest. So yeah, tricky opener to set, you guys, but hopefully we will have more opinions on these 2-year-olds in our second race. This is the 220. This is another Group 3. This is the Group 3 Autumn Stakes, again for 2-year-olds, but this time over a mile. Have a very short price favourite at the head of the market, and Corobus, who has done very little wrong in his 2 starts so far. A winner on Davy, second last time out in the Royal Lodge behind Royal Patronage, where he looked the winner everywhere till close to the line. So, Daryl, I'll throw it back to you. Does Corobus deserve to be a shorter price as he currently is?
It's very, very tricky. I mean, he's priced up like he's won the Royal Lodge for a starter. That Royal Lodge was a strange race, really. Nothing really got involved from off the rear of the pace. It focused on the 2 at the front of the market. I was trying to look at the Royal Lodge when I was analysing it from a completely different perspective, because a lot of people are telling you that Corobus was the best horse in the race. He's just tired, or he didn't do a lot when he hit the front. I don't really like that excuse. So I didn't do a lot when he hit the front. But he pulled 4 lengths clear when they came into the dip. And he pretty much made all of the running on debut. He was clear-sighted. So not doing a lot in front. I'm not entirely convinced of that argument. I had 2 concerns going into that Royal Lodge with both Corobus and Royal Patronage. Now, Corobus, I felt, didn't really do a strong time figure on debut in comparison to a lot of other races on the card. So him going at a higher tempo for me was a slight concern. Now, whether that was the case and he just didn't handle it and he just tired towards the finish because that was the fastest he's ever gone in a race, that may well be the case. But the other concern was with Royal Patronage, who I didn't think would handle the track. He's quite a big horse. Now, it's not a coincidence that Corobus went past Royal Patronage as they entered the 3 furlong pole, as they entered the dip, when Royal Patronage was all over the place. It wasn't until he hit the rising ground that Royal Patronage really stayed on. So I don't know if he's been slightly flattered by everybody. I know I can feel people screaming at this screen saying you're completely wrong, but I'm just trying to look at it from an alternative view. I'm not willing just to accept the fact that he just didn't do a lot when he's in front. I don't think that was the case. Look, there was a moment in that race where he looked pretty special, like he was going to go on it and be a very, very smart horse indeed. He didn't, and that's the bare facts of it. He didn't put the race to bed. The issue you've got with this race is that Godolphin have farmed it. They've won 4 of the last 5. They even bought Persian King after he won this race. So they do like this race quite a lot. And there's not a lot of strength in depth in behind these. I thought Imperial Fighter was the correct second favourite. I thought Dubai Pirate was very visually impressive, but he did no more on the figures than either the engine did in the same race. United Nations, very similar, ran up to a mark of around 85, 90, and Scriptwriter as well. I mean, these horses can take a step forward. I've been on this Alflaila bandwagon for a little bit of time now, and he's not really produced the goods I've really wanted him to. He steps up to a mile here. I thought he had some rock-solid form in the book from some handicap races behind the likes of Harrow, who's actually improved all season this term now, and Noble Truth last time. I thought he was sticking on quite strongly at the finish. He'll have no trouble with the track or the ground. I thought a double-figure price, I think he's around 20 to 1. I thought he had every right to be in the frame. I wouldn't be overly confident taking on Corobus, but going forward, I would tread carefully with him and with the form lines and not just take on face value that he didn't do a lot once he hit the front.
Yeah, totally see that argument. And I don't think people will be screaming at you taking on an odds-on shot ever, Daryl. So you're providing that alternative angle. And like you say, just to take a different approach rather than just the visual and what the market's telling us of the favourite. Andrew, yourself, are you siding with this short price favourite, or are you also looking to take him on?
Yeah, I tend to wear my bookmaker's hat when I see some horse at this price. I look to pick holes, and Daryl's made a great case why the 11 to 10 on might not be a fantastic price. And my goodness, if there was a lot of money done at 101 in running, I think, on Corobus last time out, and they were large, over 30 grand, I think, and the smell of burnt fingers in the air after that race. And actually, as I think you both pointed out, nothing really came from off the pace. And of course, Unconquerable, who did best of the hold-up horses in that race, runs in the Zetland at 145, so that one might be able to give the form a timely boost. But in terms of this race, it wouldn't surprise me if Corobus won. I quite like Imperial Fighter. He's ready for the step up to this 1 mile trip. But the one I'm going to throw into the ring at a big price is Dirtyoldtown for George Bowie. Now, a friend of mine was at Foss last when this one made his debut. I was at the end of August, and said this is an absolute beast of a horse. Looks fantastic, a wonderful specimen, and might be too good to do himself justice, but he'll run a good race. And he finished 5th, but he was beaten less than 2 lengths. He raced on the front end when it paid to come from off the pace. And he built on that next time with a powerful performance at Chepstow. I know it was fairly sort of low-grade form, soft ground. He was due to run in a listed contest at Dundalk, but George Bowie pulled both his runners out that day. I think it was travel problems because of the strong winds, so they probably couldn't make the ferry, but don't quote me on that because I've not checked that out. And I thought Dirtyoldtown, just from what my sort of paddock watching friend was talking about, and that performance at Chepstow, might be able to take a step forward and get in the first 3 or 4 here. So he's 50 to 1, and at as a sporting each way alternative to those at the head of the market. Keep an eye on Dirtyoldtown.
Definitely so. And as you say, so often Chepstow form can be overlooked at the best of times, let alone when it's a novice. So yeah, huge price, about 50 to 1 for Dirtyoldtown.
It's a horrible name, that.
I know.
That is a horrible name.
I wonder if
it's wonderful. It doesn't even fit with his pedigree. It's just completely fucked out nowhere.
I hope he's named after the Pogue song with the same name.
Here we go. Here come the references. But so Dirtyoldtown, just to say it again because I need no excuse to, for 50 to 1 there for Andrew and 20 to 1 for Alflaila for Daryl. So both taking on the market leader there, who both have been given who's been given a positive mention to by the lads and may well win. But to try and take him on at that price probably looks the way to play this race, especially with so many unknown variables. So we're going to go to another 2-year-old contest. Now it's Group 1 horses for the Dewhurst in the 255 at Newmarket, a race for 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Naturally, one of the highlight races of the entire season. Hugely looking forward to this contest. And again, we have a shorty, funnily enough, for Godolphin, out the head of the market. And Charlie Appleby trains Native Trail, one of the standout 2-year-olds, I think, of this entire season. And again, you're getting an each way price pretty much about the rest of the field in here. So whether or not you wanted to be taking him on to find something to reach the frame, considering you have the 8 runners, then remains to be seen. But for me, Native Trail, I said that Perfect Power was my favourite 2-year-old over 6 furlongs. Native Trail is my favourite 2-year-old over 7 furlongs. That's all he's run over in his 3-race career so far. He hasn't faced the ground worse than good, admittedly, but I think that that's probably what he's actually going to end up with at Newmarket at the weekend anyway. And last time out in the Vincent O'Brien National Stakes, he was a winner of that Group 1 contest. I thought that was so impressive to overturn who I thought at the time was the best 2-year-old in training in Poyton Lonsdale, but he still managed to beat him by 3.5 lengths. So hugely impressive. Think there's more to come from him. So I think he is very difficult to oppose for the win purposes. But Andrew, throwing it back to you, do you take him on here?
Difficult to. I mean, I'll probably throw a few quid at something each way if the dead 8 go to post. But I've been impressed with him so far, and I thought he'd take the beating here. There's a possibility the second favourite, Bayside Bay, was flattered when winning at Doncaster. I think it was a headwind that day, and he came from off the pace, as did the majority of the winners on that. The Legend meeting in general, really, but particularly on that day. So I thought, if I was going to oppose, rather than oppose the favourite, I'd perhaps rather oppose Bayside Bay in the betting without market. But the one I was looking at big price was Go Bears Go, who of course won against your beloved Perfect Power. That would be a clash, wouldn't it? Perfect Power versus Native Trail over 6.5 furlongs. That's a race I've played to watch. But in that Perfect Power's race, of course, the winner, the second, the third came from off the pace. They went pretty hard up front, and Go Bears Go actually did best of those who raced on the front end. So with a smaller field, if there's less pace pressure, then Go Bears Go at 33 to 1 could run a good race. I mean, the stalls are in the centre again, so it'll be interesting to see where they race at Newmarket. I thought they'd probably come near side in some of the bigger fields. He's drawn 2 of 8, which might not be ideal, but at 33 to 1, I'll probably take the chance in the hope that he can break smartly. And if the Stamps rail is the place to be, get across and get a good position on it.
Definitely so, and he's such a likeable horse. I do love Go Bears Go. When he won the Group 2 Railway Stakes there at the Curragh, and he took plenty of people's attention then. So very likeable horse and a very good price to go with it, around 33 to 1. Were you saying then? So yeah. So again, so huge price again for Go Bears Go. Daryl, again, are you taking on the short price favourite, or is he difficult to oppose?
You two love this horse too much, I'm telling you.
Love him.
Well, I don't know. I don't know where I sit with him, really. He was impressive in national stakes, being Point Lonsdale, but I don't think that Point Lonsdale form is worth anything, really, to be quite honest. And then back in third was Ebo River, who just failed to stay the trip when stepping up to 7 furlongs. Ultramain was 6 lengths behind. That form line ties in with Straight Answer, who won last time and had the same horse 7 lengths behind. So I don't think he's as good as everyone is making out. I think he could be by next season, when he goes up in trip, etc. But in terms of what he's done, I think the rating of 122 is far too high. I think the way you get him beat is by speed. Tactically run a fair in this race. I think 5 of these are stepping up from 6 furlongs last time, so 5 of these is taking a step up in trip. He's the guaranteed stayer in the field, so they play this 2 ways. They either go very hard up front because they are stepping up in trip to 7 furlongs and just hoping they're last out, and it sets up well for Native Trail, who's going to be the stronger finisher of the lot. Or they dictate a slowly run race, and he gets done for a turn of foot and a turn of speed. That's the way I would want to play it. Or if I was at Connections, that's the way I would be given instructions. Try and slow the race down, get a turn of speed into that dip and out, and try and do it for a bit of speed. I'm going to throw a couple of quid at Berkshire Shadow in here, the Coventry winner. I think he's a forgotten about horse a little bit this season. He was really impressive in the Coventry. I thought stayed really strongly, travelled powerfully, good time figure. It was a lovely performance. I thought he was going to go on to bigger and better things. Next time at Goodwood, behind Angel Blur, he was beaten 3/4 of a length, but he didn't really handle the track. He got stuck in the mud a little bit. Quickened up once he pulled away. He closed all the way to the line. Angel Blur is obviously a subsequent Group 1 winner in France last weekend now, so the form actually does look quite decent. I don't know what on earth they were thinking going back to 6 furlongs at York for the Jim Crack. He ran a bit flat that day, according to the jockey. He just didn't look himself. He was on the wrong side of the track as well. There was just a few things against him that day under a penalty. I think there's more to come. I think it'd be a bit silly to write him off too soon. And he has got that bit of turn of foot. He has got a lovely turn of foot, and he does stay well. So 7 furlongs is definitely going to be his trip going forward, I feel. The drying ground will be in his favour. He gets a tongue tie for the first time. Now, I'm hoping that's positive. But I thought 25 to 1 if we get the dead 8 runners. I thought that was a huge price, really. And I think that is a big price because of the Native Trail 8 to 11. So, yeah, don't give up on Berkshire Shadow. Chuck a couple of quid each way at him.
Yeah, definitely so. And not to be confused with Berkshire Rebel, who Andrew gave a good mention to earlier on in the Zetland Stakes. Same colours, same connections, but Berkshire Shadow this time around. Anyway, and as you said, had a perfect form boost then from his penultimate start in the Vintage Stakes with Angel Blur coming out and winning the Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère then at the weekend. So, yes, certainly looks to have plenty in his favour, stepping back up to the 7 furlongs here. So, hugely exciting. Plenty of 2-year-olds covered. And if you're an anti-post player in general, then you'll be looking out for some classic clues then for next season in terms of the Guineas or the Derby, if you like to be doing that with a few of these selections. So if you think they're a short price now, then but you still think they're going to win, then you can put them into an anti-post bet then for next season if you do like that. Some people I know do, some don't, but each to their own. Anyway, so that's our 2-year-olds covered at Newmarket for now, at least. Anyway, it's just a small matter of the Cambridgeshire to cover. This is in.
I've got the winner of that.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago.
Cesarewitch.
Oh, what did I say?
Cambridgeshire.
Oh, sorry.
It'd be easier.
You actually had the winner of that. Sorry, this is
I'll still
I
probably
don't know where that came
winner,
from. Close enough. Much of a muchness. Only a mile and 2 furlongs different, but yes, no, the Cesarewitch, apologies, at Newmarket in the 3:35 heritage handicap for 3-year-olds and over 2 mile 2. Yes, definitely slightly slower horses for the Cesarewitch, at least anyway. And Willie Mullins is hugely well represented here, a whole host of runners. And then going back through the last few years of trends, I mean, he's won the last 2 runnings. Great White Shark in 2020, Stratum in 2019, Low Sun in 2018. Those horses aged 5 or 6, rated between 90 and 100. High draw seems to have been significant in this race. Of course, Willie Mullins seems to have been a significant factor for this race as well. So the trends are currently favouring market leader MC Muldoon, Burning Victory, Great White Shark again, for all she's a 7-year-old now, and Foveros rated 87. So not quite of the mark I would necessarily like, but from those of bigger prices, he is the biggest price in here. So he's going to be the horse I'm going to be siding with in this contest because he's age 6. He's drawn high in 24, trained by Willie Mullins. And I'd say he may not be rated high enough ideally, but he's running off of a £1 higher mark than Great White Shark, who won this race last season. So it may well play to his advantage. He comes into this race on the back of 2 staying flat handicaps. The latest are 2 good runs in those, the latest of which being a premier handicap over 2 mile 1 at Galway. So I just think he has everything in his favour here and is a decent price to go with it as well, around 20 to 1. So I'm going for a big play in this because it's so tricky to solve. But lads, I challenge you with this. So Daryl, back to you for the Cesarewitch.
Yeah, this is hard work, isn't it? I spent a lot of time on this race and I still don't really know. I wouldn't be overly confident. I've got 2 to throw at you, but I wouldn't be overly confident. The first one is Elysian Flame, who I thought was given far too much to do at Goodwood. I thought it was a hell of a run from well off the pace behind Calling the Wind last time. He actually doesn't have much to find with today's Fav. They met at Ascot. He was only, 3/4 of a length behind that day, finishing 3rd in the Ascot Stakes. I thought that was a really, really good run. I just thought he was one of the more rock solid horses in the race. That's definitely going to give his running from an each way perspective. You're going to get 6, 7, 8 places perhaps with some people. He's got a couple of nice bits of form as well. If you go back a little bit behind the likes of Hamish and Raunchand, and that just really ticks a few boxes for me. He's on a career high mark, but his RPRs are climbing, so he's still improving at the age of 5. I just think he's quite a rock solid option, and you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to run his heart out. I hope they don't give him too much to do again. The other one, a big price, is Makawee. This horse is due to go down £5, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, really, because you could do with that £5 in this race. But she has been dropped £6 this season, and that is a testament to her poor efforts all year. But I do put it to you that her best form has come over 1 mile 6 plus on better ground. That was a step back in the right direction at Goodwood last time, and she stayed on strongly over 1 mile 6 there. Prior to that, she couldn't get involved in the Ebor. But her last handicap start before those 2 runs was a small field win off a mark of 100 at Goodwood in really impressive style. The runner-up, Tribal Craft, is now rated £11 higher. The 3rd is higher on the handicap as well. And then her 4th start ago, which is only 4 runs in handicaps, was a 2-length defeat over 2 miles at York in the Sky Bet handicap behind Summer Moon off a mark of 97 last year. Obviously, Summer Moon came out and finished runner-up behind Great White Shark in this race on the next start off a £4 high mark. So that's a small case you can be made. I think Makawee, best price 66, something like that. I think it's a fair case for a horse who's clearly well handicapped and just might be coming back to form at this time of year.
Yeah, definitely. So say a huge price then for Makawee, about 66 to 1 at the current time of recording, at least anyway. So in a race that we know is notoriously tricky, then to have an each way play at that price with, as you say, with firms offering all sorts of different places in this race, I'm going down to 8th place, then Makawee looks huge, but also a notable mention as well for Calling the Wind, still an each way price.
Elysian Flame.
Pardon?
Elysian Flame.
Oh, sorry, Elysian Flame. I'm getting them all right today, aren't I? It's Calling the Wind in the Cambridgeshire for you. Apologies, Elysian Flame in the Cesarewitch. Andrew, back to you. Hopefully I will get the right name and the right race for you.
Yeah, you can spend hours on this race, and then on Monday morning you'll look at the result in the paper and think, oh yeah, it was the favourite trained by Willie Mullins. I should have just kept it simple. But Those that I like at prices include Dance to Paris for Lucy Wadham, drawn high around about 66 to 1. A horse with a good record in October, 2 wins and a second from 3 runs. The yard had a winner at Kempton the other night. I thought Dance to Paris could go well. Platform 19 and Prince Alex for the Michael Bell yard. Platform 19 ran in that 2-mile handicap at York Ebor Festival, where it paid to come from off the pace. And there's a few horses in that who were on the front end who've come out and run well since. And before that, he stayed on well over that 2-mile 5 trip at Glorious Goodwood. So I thought Platform 19 had stamina; he could go well. Scaramanga finished down the field 9th in that York handicap. Again, racing closer to the front than ideal. He could bounce back, if it dries out. They're calling it good to soft still, but assuming the forecast is correct and they don't water, you'd imagine it'd be good or even quicker by post time. And the Max Buchanan had a squeak. Mark Johnson's got a good record in this race. Only 2 winners from 34, but you'd still make a profit of 50 quid backing them blind, because the winners included a 66 to 1 shot. He's also had another half a dozen placed at up to 50 to 1. And we saw in the Cambridgeshire, Marie's Diamond was in the frame at a big price, or in the first 5 or 6 anyway. So he can get horses to run well despite big odds in these races. But you're going to pin me down to 1. I'll go Dance to Paris for Lucy Wadham in the hope those high draws are favoured. We get the occasional Cesarewitch where you want to be low, like Aim to Prosper at 66 to 1, winning it from Store 1 for Brian Meehan in 2012. But generally speaking, I think a high draw will help. So, Dance to Paris, very tentative. And, gun to my head, William Mullins probably has the TriCast.
Exactly, he's got enough horses in it, and as you say, from winning the last 3 renewals of this race, and he does certainly look to have plenty in his favour, with all of those horses having pretty similar profiles as well. But Dance to Paris there, drawn in 34, looks to have a big shout, and again a big price to be going with her as well, with Morgan Cole taking £7 off of this mare's back. So 40 to 1 for Dance to Paris. So yes, a few really good shouts there, which is fantastic to see. But as I say, we've divided opinion a bit there, but at least we're taking on the favourite MC Muldoon at the head of the market, but notoriously tricky race, of course. So that is it from Newmarket for our scheduled races. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Andrew, for anything else from Newmarket at all that takes your fancy.
In the 410 6 furlong listed race, I like Gale Force Mayor, who's got a fantastic record over 6 furlongs on stiff tracks, and won over course and distance last time out. Give her this trip and a stiff uphill finish. 7 wins from 13 starts, and placed in 5 of the 6 defeats. I thought she was worth a shot at listed level, despite having a bit to find at the weights with some of these. But I'd rather take an informed filly who's proven under conditions, rather than one who's perhaps dropping down in grade after disappointing. So Gale Force Mare in the 410.
Yep, to bring up the hat trick there, around a 6 to 1 price on my current show of betting, at least anyway, in the 410 at Newmarket, that listed contest over 6 furlongs. Daryl, anything from yourself at Newmarket? Yeah,
just in the 110. I like Robasta for Andrew Boulding in a nursery handicap there. The step up to 7 furlongs is definitely a source of improvement for this horse now. You go back a couple of runs to his Ascot run at back in July. It's worked out extremely well to make him look well handicapped off a mark of 83. And he did catch the eye at Doncaster in a big sales race behind Harrow, Ever Given, etc. last time. Just really didn't have the pace to challenge, looking to stay on it strongly at the finish. I think the step up to 7, a track like Newmarket, which puts a little bit of emphasis on stamina, will definitely suit.
Definitely so. Say ran a blinder at 33 to 1 on that latest start this son of Memas, who's continuing to have a fantastic season with his progeny. I haven't got a show of prices for that race, at least anyway, but Robasta there, horse number 5 in the 110 at Newmarket, that 7 furlong handicap. So thank you very much to the pair of you. I think we've covered most of the races at Newmarket, so very good from the both of you. We will move on to York, and we're going back to the 2-year-olds for our first race at York. This is the listed Rockingham Stakes for 2-year-olds over 6 furlongs. This looks a wide open contest. 14 declared runners, making this race just that bit more challenging again. Not that it needs any more challenges in here, and you're getting a decent price, I think, about pretty much all of these runners. So very tricky to solve. But Daryl, back to you to please solve this puzzle.
Yeah, this is a really good race. I'm probably going to wait for the final selection closer to the time just to see what the ground does at York. If they're calling it soft on the morning of race day, I don't know how it's going to dry up. But the reason being is because Ever Given is a really nice price here at 5-1, but I don't know how he's going to handle the ground. So I'd want to see it dry quite a bit for him. For the purpose of this video, I was going to take a chance with Witch Hunter for Richard Hannon, who's turned out relatively quickly after running a blinding race behind Ribby at Salisbury last time. The gap just closed on him at the wrong time, and he finished with plenty left. Now, there was a big bias at Salisbury that day, running up against the stand side rail. If you were prominent, making all the running, he was off the pace and slightly off the rail, but he tried to switch inside to get the gap, and it just completely closed on him at the line. I felt he finished with a good deal left. He was eye-catching at Newbury on his debut. It's interesting that they switch him out 9 days later. I think he could be a pretty smart horse. So Witch Hunter would be the selection in that. But I do want to wait and see what the ground's going to do, because Ever Given is very tempting at the moment.
Yeah, but you need the ground to dry up to be siding with Ever Given, because as you say, current time of recording, it is soft at York, but they're due no rainfall, but a bit of mist around then Saturday morning. So whether or not that's going to have many implications or not. But again, if there are any changes to selections, or if Daryl sees that the ground is shaping up to be quicker than originally looks at the minute, then you'll find a change of selection there on the website at GG.CO.UK or on Daryl's social media at Daryl Carter 7, I believe it is, on Twitter. Yeah, so that's ideal then for Ever Given. So we'll get an update on that. But a good price, though, about Witch Hunter at about 8 or 9-1 on my current show of betting. Andrew, back to yourself.
I've got the same shortlist as Daryl.
Oh, wonderful.
Ever Given and Witch Hunter. So I was taken by that Ribby run from Witch Hunter at Salisbury last time when I closed up third. Slight worry that he hasn't got his head in front yet, and now he's running in a race of this standard. And Ever Given, I thought he'd be a shorter price. I know he's 7s into 5 since the betting opened, but I still thought he should be a clear favourite here. And he keeps clocking good times, even though he got beat last time out. That was in a huge field, and it was only a narrow defeat. Earlier course wins worked out really well. And still 12 might not be great on what we've seen so far at York at sort of recent meetings. Plenty of sprints have gone to low-drawn runners, and look at the Nunthorpe and those like Swayzer who were out with who didn't have a prayer from those very high draws. Maybe that would just lean me towards Witch Hunter, given the draws. He's still 2. But again, you'd like to, let the first race go. Is the first race a sprint on Saturday? The one? No, it's a mile race. That's not particularly helpful. So, I'll side with Witch Hunter over Ever Given.
Perfect. Again, so 2 votes then for Witch Hunter at a decent price anyway there for Witch Hunter to hopefully get his head in front at the third time of asking. But 2 very notable mentions for Ever Given at the head of the market. And considering there may still be some juice in his price, but also there's juice in the ground. So it's which way you weigh it up at least. Anyway, good tenuous link there, Kate. Right, 237 at York. We will move swiftly on to a handicap. This is a 0-110 handicap for 3-year-olds and over a mile 2. Again, a very likeable race, but the market would have it, though, that this race is between Baybridge and Faisal, seemingly. So is that the way you see this race panning out, Andrew?
Very possibly. It's been a good race for 3-year-olds, certainly. In that age group, 6 wins, 4 places from 27 runners in the same period. 4-year-olds rolled 2 winners from 58 runners, 12 placed. So I was immediately drawn to the 3-year-olds. Baybridge have been banging on about for a while. Unlucky on his first 2 starts on account of greenness, and then account of the trip at Kempton when he was on the outside throughout. And then, next time out, Newcastle won impressively, and then Newbury also, both by wide margins. So I think he's very progressive. If there's a bit of ease in the ground still, that's going to suit him. And at 9-4, he's fair enough. He could go off, closer to 6-4. So I certainly wouldn't put you off. But I'm going to side with Pythagoras at a price, another 3-year-old, and a horse who last year went well at this time of year. And he did get, I think he had 3 runs in the autumn, 2 wins, a third in the other on unsuitably quick ground. He wasn't exactly advertising his credentials for this race when running at Doncaster last time, finishing 7th of 8. that was perhaps a little bit before the time he tends to peak, and maybe he was on the wrong part of the track as well, towards the near side rail when everything seemed to be winning late and wide down the middle. So I'll go Pythagoras on price grounds over Bay Bridge, but I think this will go to a 3-year-old yet again.
Yeah, well, you've given a notable mention to a couple of 3-year-olds there. Say Baybridge at the head of the market, but the main bet's going to be Pythagoras at around 20-1. So another big play in one of these races at the weekend. Daryl, are you also going to be taking on the favourite, or do you agree with the market that it's between the front two?
I agree the market's got the right favourite. I'm not a massive fan of the second fav. I think it's very one pace, that Gosden horse. But I just slight concern that Baybridge has been off so long. Obviously, he had a slight setback, didn't he? Whether or not he's going to need this, I don't know. He did look like a very smart horse in the London Gold Cup, but that race has not really worked out in the end. So, yeah, I'd be quite keen to take him on. I really like Sinjaari for this. Top weight, top rated. He just loves it here at York. The trip is ideal. 1.25 miles is exactly what he wants. Dry and go around would be ideal. He was hampered when looking like the winner here on his first start for 220 days behind migration. A first start for the yard as well. That was off a £2 lower mark. He probably wasn't suited to the slow place at Doncaster in a small free-runner event behind Harrovian when Frankie dictated the pace there. But he's got his optimum conditions. Ground will be fine. 1 mile trip, right course. He's a lot worse off at the weights with Good Birthday for their Newbury meeting, a while ago. But this horse is just rock solid. He's improving. He's still got more to come. He probably doesn't get his head in front as much as he should, but he's due a victory. I think he's the class act in this field.
Yeah, and course and distance form to his name, of course, as well. So, yes, and again, you're getting an each-way price about Sinjaari, open up around 10-1. So that would be ideal, really, on a first show of betting anyway, as we record this on Thursday afternoon. But, yeah, Sinjaari, notable mention for him. And then, as you said, Pythagoras for Andrew, but also a couple of notable mentions for Baybridge at the head of the market to take on Faisal. So we move on to the next race at York. This is for 3:15. This is the Sprint Trophy handicap, a heritage handicap, 0-105 handicap for 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. Now, we talk about a race full of characters we've talked extensively about all season. Well, all of those characters have decided to turn up here for York Sprint Trophy handicap because we have in this race Gulliver heading the market. I mean, surely this is a race for him with all variables in his favour. He wants a big field over this course and distance, 6 furlongs. Soft ground at current time of recording will remain to be seen. And on his last winning mark of 102, that win coming in this race last year where he won in convincing style by 2.5 lengths. Drawn in 6 last year, whereas he's drawn higher in 21 here. But is that going to be a disadvantage to him, Daryl? Because other than that, he looks to have all variables in his favour.
Yeah, I don't know. Six of the last 10 have been drawn lower than stall 6 in this race. Yeah, but he was really impressive last year, wasn't he? And he was quite good as well, beating Laugh a minute a couple of starts ago at the Curragh. He's better off at the weights with Comanche Falls. There is a lot in his favour. I mean, if he was drawn low, you wouldn't really be looking anywhere else, would you?
That's the factor, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a race I'm going to get too involved in. I thought he would be the most likely winner. He absolutely loves it here at York. Looking to win the race for the 3rd time. He's a really, really good horse on his day. He's off the right mark. There's just too much in his favour for me to try and make a case for something else just on the basis of the draw. So especially as we don't know how the draw is going to unfold just yet. So I'll put Gulliver up as a tentative selection, but it's not a race I'm going to get involved in.
Yeah, I don't blame you, to be fair. But that was also why I wanted to throw it to you because that was my only slight concern. He's still going to be my selection, but my only slight concern drawn in 21 there. But Andrew, can you deter us any more from Gulliver? Or are you also joining on the tentative bandwagon?
No, I'm sticking with Gulliver despite the draw. I put him up in my column for this race last year. I think it was the last time I tipped a winner, and he's done it well. And again, he's an autumn horse. He's won. He's won 8 times in his career. 6 of those have come in October and November. He's won the race for the last 2 years off marks of 100 and 102. He's on 102 now. He's run some good races in defeat this year, particularly that Curragh run when he was 4th overall and 2nd best of the far side bunch. And you could do with the ground staying pretty soggy and not drying out completely. I think there's rain forecast on Thursday at York, isn't there? Or little bits, and maybe it'll still be sort of on the soft side of good. But like you say, there seems to be a lot of pace drawn low from Punchbowl Flyer, Mr. Wagyu, and perhaps not so much high. So he could be a little bit exposed. If I was playing anything else in the race, I'd certainly want a little bit of a saver on him. I mean, Punchbowl Flyer is one to consider if it is genuinely soft on Saturday, given that he goes so well on proper soft or heavy going, and he ran well in that group race at Ascot last time on the front end when it was set up for the finishers last week. But I'll go with Gulliver and just fingers crossed stall 22 isn't as bad as it has been on occasions this year.
I say, yeah, that is certainly the biggest concern for him. But as you say, you have the saver on Gulliver at least anyway, but also a favourable mention for Punchbowl Fly at around 22-1. Should the draw bias then flip, take the trend that we've seen in the last few years of this race and favour those drawn low, which Punchbowl Flyer is in 3. But very tricky race, plenty of characters we know about. Q Mondamedge going and messing with all of us yet again in this race. But it's or is he even there he is, around 11-1. So cue him going and throwing spanners in the work left, right and centre yet again. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Andrew, for anything else from York at all, please.
From York, no.
Nothing from York. Daryl, yourself?
No, nothing from me, I'm afraid.
No, don't be afraid. That is absolutely fine. We gave plenty last week. Now, anything else from any other tracks across the way? Of course, we have Chepstow seasonal opener then this week. So do we have anything from any other tracks from the pair of you?
3:30 at Chepstow, Rowland Ward. Horse you might know a little bit about, Kate, because your significant other usually rides this one. His wins tend to come on his second start back after a break, and when he was 4th of 6 at Market Raising last time, I thought he was perhaps on the inside, which wasn't the place to be. Most of the winners were a little bit wider that day, so I thought he'd improve for that and run a good race. And at Chelmsford, in the 7:30 Division 1 of a 6 furlong handicap, we're approaching the time that Jorvik Prince comes to hand. It might be a little bit early for him, but he's drawn his stall 1. He should go well from the front. And in the same race, Jungle Boogaloo, 21 race maiden, but often runs well at Chelmsford, and probably Jungle Boogaloo each way might be the call in that 7:30.
Perfect. Yes, and the 7:30 then at Chelmsford. I haven't got a show of prices just yet to be able to quote, but Jungle Boogaloo and the other one you mentioned favourably for that race, sorry, Andrew?
Jorvik Prince.
Jorvik Prince as well. And then, of course, going to Chepstow as well then for the Silver Trophy at 3:30, and a positive mention for Rowland Ward for the informed Stuart Edmonds team. Daryl, anything from yourself?
No, there's not. I've not done the Chepstow card yet. I've got to get on that this afternoon, but I'm sure I'll have something from over there. It's just a case of the ground, not knowing what the ground is going to be. So I didn't want to throw out too many selections.
Completely. And as we were saying earlier on, that if there are any changes to selections because of the ground, it is that time of year, so it's understandable. Then you can find them on the website at GG.CO.UK or on any of our social media pages. But say we are recording on Thursday afternoon, so it can all change in an instant, as we know. So hopefully most selections will remain, but you can catch up with changes of selections on any of those previously mentioned platforms. So all that remains is to actually get your naps this time around. So Andrew, back to you for your nap of the weekend, please.
Well, good question. I'm going to go for the aforementioned Rowland Ward in the 3:30 at Chepstow.
Wonderful. And Daryl, yourself?
I'm going to go for Berkshire Shadow in the 2:55 at Newmarket. I just think he's a massive price.
Yeah, totally. And like I say, really good case there made earlier on for that horse at Newmarket. And I am going to go for Gulliver in the 3:15 at York and hope that the high draw doesn't counter against him, but he has everything else in his favour. So they are the Nats. They are all the races that we've had to cover this weekend. Hopefully plenty of winners in there for you as well. Say the lads did very well last weekend. It's that transitional time of year into the autumn where the jumps are just kicking off. We're seeing the back end of the flat season there. Plenty of 2-year-olds to look out for. So we really hope you enjoy all the weekend's action. Big thank you again to our sponsors, SBK. And we wish you all of the luck with your bets this weekend.